Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Westport Library's very first Camp Explore program. Our summer camp is going to feature amazing presentations this summer from shark experts, ocean explorers, famous NBA basketball players, scientists, and even Goosebumps author R.L. Stine. Please tell your friends all about Camp Explore because this is a camp with room for everyone. And the best part is it doesn't cost anything. It's totally free. No matter where you live, whether it's in Westport, Connecticut or Fairbanks, Alaska, anybody can participate in our library camp. So please keep coming back and please keep telling your friends. After every Camp Explore event, I really hope you'll check out the Westport Library's website, not only to find out more about our future special guests, but also because we put together some pretty awesome guides for you about each of our presenters and the subjects that matter most to them. Let me quickly share with you some of the other cool speakers that we have in store for you for the coming weeks. If you guys love comic books and graphic novels, then you're absolutely going to love Jerry Craft. Jerry Craft lives in Norwalk. He's one of the most well-known illustrators in the country, and his new book, The New Kid, just won the most famous book award in the country, the Newbery Medal. Mr. Kraft will be joining us on Monday at 4 p.m., so tune in for that. If you like hearing stories about famous shipwrecks like the Titanic, you will not want to miss out on the ocean explorer who actually discovered the Titanic at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. His name is Bob Ballard, and he lives right here in Connecticut. Mr. Ballard will be joining us during the week of July 20th to talk all about the famous shipwrecks that he's discovered in the ocean. For you basketball fans, we have a special treat for you because at the end of July, you're going to hear from New York Knicks basketball star Charles Smith. And we end up at a virtual campfire with the creative, funny, and a little bit scary R.L. Stine, the Goosebumps author who has written so many horror books for young kids. He'll be joining us in August. Before I introduce Jennie Finch, I want to thank some very special people who made it possible for the library through their very generous support to bring Camp Explore events like this to you this summer. And their names are Bud and Roz Siegel. They, like all of us here at the Westport Library, want to make sure that during these tough times that we have something inspiring and cool for you guys to do and learn over the summer. So thank you, Bud and Roz, for making this possible. Now, let me introduce Jennie Finch. Jennie Finch fell in love with baseball as a 4-year-old when her mother took her to her first Dodgers game. A year later, her parents signed her up for softball lessons. Her love for the game and competitive nature was evident from the start, as was her natural athletic ability. She had great hand-eye coordination, and she was bigger and faster than most of her teammates. She also had a cannon for an arm. Not only did Jennie dominate travel softball, she later became a star player for a high school team in Southern California. And during her time at the University of Arizona, she set an NCAA record with 60 consecutive wins. She struck out a total of over 1,000 batters in her college career and was voted the nation's best softball player. With her remarkable pitching ability and a fastball that was nearly impossible to hit, Jennie helped Team USA capture a gold medal at the 2004 Olympic Games. Shortly after winning gold, she was featured on the cover of Sports Illustrated magazine. In 2010, Jennie announced her retirement from softball to focus on her family. She is considered by Time magazine and everybody else in the sport of softball to be the most famous softball player in history, and we're thrilled to have her with us today. Jennie Finch.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. I'm so excited to get to share my story, the life lessons I've learned, and the opportunities that I've experienced through sport. I know we're living in some crazy times right now, and I hope you're making the best of it. Wherever you're at, I hope you and your family are safe. I want to thank you guys for logging on with us. If you do have questions towards the end, I cannot wait to get to your questions. And so feel free to type away. those questions, and then we'll get to those at the end. But I'll start off by, like it was said, I started playing softball at a young age. I have 2 older brothers, and for those of you with older siblings, you guys know that you constantly wanting to compete and win and battle. And so for me, my 2 big brothers, I think, lit this just competitive fire within me. And I don't really like the word hate at all, but I do hate to lose. And I think it's because I lost so much growing up to my big brothers. I was never fast enough, never strong enough, never could, hang with them. One's 10 years older, one's 5 years older. So there's a large age difference, but I'm so thankful for them just instilling that competitive edge within me. And they both played baseball. And so for me, I wanted to be just like them. And my parents signed me up to play softball when I was 5. I fell in love with the game. We went to Dodger games growing up, and we weren't just the fan that would kind of tune in here or there. My mom was the really big sports nut in our family, and she would walk into Dodger Stadium with the radio so we could listen to Vince Scully, who was the play-by-play announcer, as we not only watched in person, but she wanted to listen to Vince Scully. So I was kind of raised around sports. We liked the Lakers as well. I know we talked about basketball. You guys have an amazing guest towards the end of the camp session. But yeah, so we watched the Lakers and the Dodgers and just always kind of around sports. My brother's playing sports, and I fell in love with softball. I was bigger than everybody else. I still kind of am. I'm 6'1", so I'm quite tall, and I never really liked to be tall, and I didn't really like to be big, but I did realize that there is a little bit of an advantage to being big, and that's one of the greatest gifts, I think, of sport is, especially softball, baseball, and any different sport, right? We all have different gifts and different strengths, and we were all uniquely made, and there will only ever be one of you. How crazy is that, right? There is only one of you out there, but how often do we want to be somebody else? And it's like, no, I want to encourage you guys to be the best that you can be. And my dad, I grew up with that quote right there. Be the best that you can be. I hope you guys all say that to yourself. Write it down. Be the best that you can be. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to be a second best somebody else. Be the best version of you, right? It doesn't mean that we're always going to win or we're always going to be the best, but we can always compete and try to be the best version of ourselves. And I hope you do that. And so for me, I remember growing up like, but so-and-so doesn't have to do that, but so-and-so isn't doing that. And my dad would say, well, they're not you. They're not you. You have to be you. And my job as a parent is for you to be the best version of you. And so he dug deep inside of me, always pushing me. Always, my dad was kind of my backbone, always my catcher, my pitching coach growing up. It wasn't always an easy relationship. It was tough because he made me practice when I didn't want to practice. He made me, miss out on a lot of things because of it. But looking back, I am so thankful that I did. And I had it instilled lessons like teamwork, discipline, sacrifice, leadership, all of those things that we gain from sport or even extracurricular activities, being in a group setting, being part of a team, and putting the team first. It's not only about you, it's about the team and what is best for the team. And so I'm thankful that I did make those sacrifices because it allowed me to realize, just what a gift it was to play. And not everyone had the same opportunity to play. And it made me want to be that much better when I got out there because I did sacrifice a lot to be the best version of me on the softball field. And so I was, like I said, I was bigger and taller than everyone else. And when I was 8, our coach lined us up on the line and he said, okay, everyone try to pitch. And of course, me being taller and bigger, I could kind of throw harder than everybody else. And I could throw straight as well. So I found myself pitching, and I loved being in the pitching circle on the mound because I got to be involved in every single pitch, right? And I got to look in, and I loved the competitive edge of facing a hitter in the batter's box. I didn't like the pressure. How many of you guys like pressure? Give me a thumbs up if you like pressure. I did not like pressure. I grew to love pressure, and I grew to one of my favorite quotes as well. I love quotes from Billie Jean King. If you don't know who Billie Jean King is, look her up. But an amazing tennis player. She's done so much for women in sport. But Billie Jean King, pressure is a privilege. And it is. It's such a privilege. Like when you get to the championship game, or if you're up to the plate with the 2 outs, bases loaded, you're down by 1 run. There is so much privilege in having that pressure. And that's why we train. That's why we practice, is to get in those pressure situations. So I don't want you to feel the negative energy from pressure. I want you to rise to that pressure, and I want you to instantly think of pressure as a privilege. It's a gift. It's a privilege to be here. It's a privilege to have the bat in my hand, to be on this field, or wherever you find yourself in those pressure situations. I hope you focus on the good of it versus the negative of it. And so I did grow to love that pressure, but ultimately I didn't like it at first. I didn't like letting people down. I was always scared to hurt people's feelings. I remember I didn't even like striking people out because I didn't want to make people cry. And then as you get older, you start realizing, wait a minute, it's me or them. They're trying to hit off me, and this is my team versus them. And so the competitive edge kind of grew within me as well as my career progressed. But I started playing travel ball when I was 10. And so I would travel around and play. We were on a team, and not many girls from my area. So it was always kind of hard to relate to my school friends because they didn't play travel, which it wasn't as popular as it is now, which I'm sure you guys all have friends that play travel something or do something extracurricular that is a little more intense, right? That you're a part of something outside of your school. And so for me, my softball friends, they were the ones that were sacrificing the same as me, doing those extra things. And we truly hung out most of the time because we spent our weekends traveling and on the softball field together. And I'm so thankful. I didn't have any sisters growing up, but this game of softball has given me so many sisters. And I hope you guys all feel that as well, from sport, from school, whatever it is, that brotherhood, sisterhood. And I am so thankful for the many sisters that I've had through softball. And I competed in my first nationals when I was 10. And I remember we went up to Northern California. We made it all the way to the final game, and we lost. We came short, and I was so bummed. I could still remember it was California Crunch. And I remember for that long ride home thinking, man, we were that close. And on one hand, it was like, wow, we're the number 2 team in the nation. But then on the other hand, it was like, we just lost, right? We're second place. And so that, I think, was when my world kind of switched to a crazy, crazy travel softball life, where my weekends were pretty much on the road playing. And we started traveling a little bit more. In 12 and under, I got on a more competitive team, and I never had the opportunity my first year of 12 and under to throw the championship game. And sure enough, my dad had approached the coach to ask, why and what I needed to do to work on. And he said, well, Jennie just isn't a championship pitcher. And so I look back at that moment, and that moment could have broke me. I could have believed that coach when he told my dad that I was not a championship pitcher. But luckily, my dad was there to tell me, hey, if you want it bad enough, if you work hard enough, you can become that championship pitcher. And so we knew, obviously, it wasn't a great spot for us. So we finished out the season and then went to another team for spring ball. And ironically enough, I am so thankful for that coach and speaking those negative words over my life, because I used that as motivation, not only that next season, but throughout my entire career. And I am so thankful he did say that, because that just lit another fire within me to want to be that much better, to work that much harder. And guess what? Here we were 6 months later in Nashville, Tennessee at the national tournament. And this non-championship pitcher and my team sent them home back to California from the nationals. So I always say, right, there's always going to be people telling you what you can't do, who you won't be, what you'll never accomplish, right? But you are in control of it. And I hope that you use that as motivation to catapult you, right? To light those fires within you to go out there and prove them wrong. If you're doing something amazing, there's going to be naysayers, right? There's going to be haters. But I hope that you use that only as motivation, right? You listen to it, but you let it out quickly. And I hope it just motivates you and drives you to push a little bit harder. And I went on to compete. Again, we went to 1400 nationals and such, and then I went to high school. And I remember when I was 16, that was the first year that softball was an Olympic sport. And I was in awe, right? I wanted to get to know these Olympians. I wanted to watch them. I was so excited that my sport was finally in the Olympics and I would possibly have an opportunity to be an Olympian one day. My parents took me out of school early, and I was like half day, right? We were one of the first ones in the ballpark. And I remember I walked by the dugout and I just was in awe listening to what these girls were saying and watching them warm up and practice and how they trained. And the energy on the field was so contagious. And they just had this joy within them and this excellence within them. And I was like, man, just in awe. So after the game, waited in line for their autographs, got their autographs on a ball, walking out of the ballpark. And I just remember looking at that ball, staring up at my parents and telling them, Mom and Dad, this is what I want to do. I want to be a USA softball player. Well, ironically enough or not, 8 years later, where did I find myself? On the Olympic team. Crazy. So I went home with this autographed ball, and there were 4 girls on that ball that had signed my ball that were still on the Olympic team that I got to play with. So I went from these girls' autograph lines to now being their teammate. Talk about mind blown. My motto is dream and believe. You have to have a dream. And I hope you guys all are dreaming about being and doing something amazing. I hope you dream big, and I hope you stay focused on that and you go for it. The sky is the limit. And so here I was, little Dodger fan now, with the opportunity to be around the world's best softball players. But let's rewind just a little bit back. So I remember being just so inspired by that moment of these girls wearing red, white, and blue. And then I went on through college. I got a full ride scholarship to University of Arizona. And what a thrill that was to be a part of such a great tradition. And the coach there was amazing, and that he was one of the big reasons I wanted to go to University of Arizona as well. And I remember my first season at Arizona, it was nerve-wracking, right? You're playing with now the world's best players, the most competitive. You're playing with girls that are, 3 years older than you. You're playing against All-Americans, national champions. And I remember my coach took me in and we watched some video, and I really had never done video analysis, right? Scouting reports prior to. We did scouting reports, but it was just more of verbally what was going on. Well, now we were doing video. And I remember, taking the field that season and going back to that video, what did I do? I saw these girls who are big and strong and powerful doing amazing things. I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't going to work. This is going to work. Like, I have to watch those videos and I have to focus on their weaknesses, because even though it's their strengths as a hitter, I still have to stay with my strengths and believe in myself. But if I'm so consumed with someone else's strengths, I'm going to lose my strength. And so that was a learning lesson as well, and kind of figuring out too what works for you. We're all made and wired differently, and you have to figure out what allows you to perform best, or what skills, what gifts that you like, what are your passion. And we have 3 kids now. I have 2 boys and a little girl, kind of same as my family was growing up, and that is my mission for them, is to find something that they're passionate about. I don't care whether it's sports or not. I hope they play sports because, which they do now, but I hope they play as long as they can, just because I know the benefit and the life lessons from that. But those of you that don't, if you're involved in anything outside of that, which I hope you are, find your gifts, your interests, your passions, and go for it. There's so much out there and opportunity for you to go down whatever your passion is. And I remember so when I went to University of Arizona, I went there to win a national championship. And here we fell short my freshman year. And so my sophomore year, I was on a mission. I was like, here we go. I want to be the pitcher in the circle. When we get to Oklahoma City for the national championship, I want the ball in my hand and I want to earn it. And I know that it starts right now, at the beginning of the season. So this was my sophomore year, right? Coming up short of my freshman year. And here we were going down to play ASU. And so I know you guys all familiar with rivals, right? Well, ASU is a huge rival to University of Arizona. We call them ASU, and they're the Sun Devils too. We call them Scum Devils. Probably not very nice, but that's what rivals do, right? You bring out all of that stuff, which they have a bunch of names for us, Wildcats as well. But it gets heated for this big in-state rivalry. It's always a sellout, packed crowd. And here we were on our bus ride down, and coach says, Finch, you have the ball. And I said, yes, I'm ready. Okay, well, we had an 8-year winning streak against ASU. But this year, ASU was ranked the highest that they have ever been ranked in the last 10 years. They were number 5 in the country. Okay, they had a lot of talent. And here we were headed down there, and we were winning. 7th inning, my parents drove over to watch. And we were winning by 1 run, and I threw a flat rise ball, and I gave up a home run. And I was devastated. I was crushed. 8-year winning streak, 36-game winning streak. I let all of the Arizona softball fans down. I let all of the Arizona alumni down. I let coach down. I let my teammates down. I was probably feeling my lowest of lows. And I remember, getting on the bus for the longest bus ride of my life back to Tucson, Arizona from Phoenix, and burying my head in my dad's chest. And I could always compose myself on the field. And as soon as I saw him, I just lost it because I was just crushed and devastated and embarrassed and all of those negative feelings, right? When you lose, when you fall short. And I just remember burying my head in his chest saying, Dad, I never want to lose again. I never want to have this feeling again. Loaded up the bus ride back, right? Cried myself to sleep that night. I was pretty crushed, if you could say. And I remember just waking up like, I don't want to lose again. And ironically enough, I wrote a book, Throw Like a Girl. And so after my college career my first Olympics is when I wrote the book. I was trying to come up with stories. And so my parents, of course, they've been there through everything and they remember more than I actually remember. So I was going to them for stories and such for the book. And my dad says, hey, Jen, what about that loss to ASU? And I was like, Dad, you would bring up that loss. Like, no, it still stings. I don't want that in my book. And he said, did you know that was the beginning of your 60-game consecutive winning streak in college? And I said, first of all, how did I not know that? Right? But second of all, that stinking game was probably the lowest of lows of my college career, but yet started a record that still stands today. And so I didn't lose again until middle of my senior year from my sophomore year loss to ASU. And so my lesson to you is, even though you may feel you're at your lowest of lows, if you show up, if you keep going, you can get out of it. And you never know, your lowest of lows might turn into something of your highest of highs. It can happen. It can happen. I can attest for it, right? It can happen, but you got to keep plugging away. And it's like, man, being in a slump. So a slump is when you're not getting the hits, you're not getting on base, you're not making contact, you're not doing good, you're in a hitting slump. Well, we're never going to get out of a hitting slump if we don't keep stepping up to the plate, right? And so we got to be mentally strong. And I want to know, if you guys want, click in the side, what is your most powerful tool? Tell me about your most powerful tool. What is it? Is it your biceps, your quads? What's your most powerful tool? Who knows? Anybody? Type away before I give it to you. It is your mind right here. This is your most powerful tool. And who is in control of your most powerful tool? I hope you write this down as well. Please write this down. If you don't get anything else from this speech, I want you to get this down. You are in control of your most powerful tool, and that is your mind. You are in control of it, not the umpires, not your coaches, not your teammates, not your classmates, right? You are in control of your most powerful tool. So we have to control what's going on in here. And if we're already defeated in our head before we step up to the plate, before we walk into the classroom for a test, how in the world are we going to be successful? We're not, right? So there is this enormous battle in our minds, and we have to be in control. And you have to convince yourself and tell yourself that you will, that you can, over and over and over again. I always say, if you're not confident, you tell yourself you're confident. You practice, you prepare, just like in the classroom. If you study for a test, you practice, you prepare. How do you walk into class? Shoulders back, you are ready to go, right? You can't wait to get that test in your hand because you are prepared, you are ready. Same thing with whatever you're facing. For me on the field, if I prepared, I knew I gave everything that I could to be the best that I could be. Then ultimately, when I look myself in the mirror that night, every night, right? I gave it my all. I'm a winner. Win or lose, if you give it your all, boom, you're a champion, right? And that's where it is. And it starts right between your ears. We can't let the coaches, the umpires, your teachers, classmates, siblings, okay, we can't let that negative noise inside. We have to declare and speak what we want to happen. We have to see it. Yes, it takes a lot of work, a lot of work. One of my favorite quotes is, practice like it's competition, compete like it's practice. So you can apply this to anything, whatever you do, but you got to practice game speed, game mode. You can't just practice 50%, right? You got to go in fully, right? Fully committed, all in. And then when you are all in, it's like, man, I've already won because I've done everything I could in my power to be the best that I can be. And ultimately, that's all we can control is our attitude and our effort. Two things you can always control: attitude, effort. And you're in control of those things, right? I know so many athletes that have all the talent in the world, but they don't have it up here, right? They don't have a good attitude. They don't have, their effort isn't consistent. And that's where we got to be. Game speed, game mode. If we practice at 80% and then try to go get in the game at 100% and strike people out, my pitches are not going to be in the strike zone because my muscle memory is at 80%, right? When we get in the game or when we get in practice, we got to be as close to game speed, game mode 100% as we can. And that's where I saw, I guess my game went to that next level was when I really, really started pretending and being in that game mode in practice every day. So then when I did get out there, it's like, man, I've been here over and over and over again. I can do this. And it's crazy how powerful our mind is. I could say right now, I would be in high school or not high school, say college. I went home for Christmas break. I would be in the backyard with my dad and I would be pitching and I would say national championship game, UCLA's up, biggest hitter, bases loaded, and my heart is beating out of my chest, right? And even though we're just in our backyard, but I had to get myself there. So then when I did get there, I was ready and I was prepared. And that's, again, pressure is a privilege, right? It's a privilege. You are ready, you're prepared, you're confident, go. And sometimes we just have to declare it, speak it over us, right? You are confident. You can do this. You will do this, right? Always, always cling to the positive because the negative will attack you if you let it, right? Why me? This isn't fair. All of the excuses. Nobody cares about excuses. Go out there and do it. There is greatness within you. And I want to see that greatness come out and prevail. And I think the biggest setback we can have as people is, I call it a gut dial. So all of us have a gut dial inside of our gut. And we have to somehow create and move that gut dial from just good, so-so, to great. And you know what I'm talking about, right? You can just show up to class or you can show up to class ready to learn. And I hope that you choose to show up to class ready to learn. You're already there. Don't go through the motions. Life is short. Life is sweet. We're not promised tomorrow. We are not promised tomorrow. So if this was your last day on earth, wouldn't you want to make it great? Not just good, make it great. We got to cling to that goodness, right? Like I said, that negativity, it's going to swallow you up if you allow it. Prove those naysayers wrong. Only use that negative noise as motivation. Go out there and be the best that you can be. There is greatness within all of you. And I always say, don't settle. My dad would always get on me like, why would you throw harder after you give up a hit? And it's like, because you got to bear down, right? And it's like, we have to continue to bear down and dig out that greatness within each and every one of us. And it's so neat. And comparison definitely is the thief of joy. And so I think too, especially in the day and age that we are at with social media, right? We can look around and see what other people have, what they're doing, what we don't have, what we can't do, all of these things. And it's like, no, like you go out there and live your life. There is a plan over your life. You can do it. So don't let comparison steal your joy. And go out there and be great. Be the best that you can be. There's so many amazing life lessons that I've learned through sport. And I'm sure you guys, hopefully, same thing, teamwork, right? When we're struggling, I learned the worst thing we can do is think about ourselves. We're already stinking it up. So last thing I want to do is think about me, right? Because I'm not in a good place. So I'm going to be the best teammate that I can be. And I think back to a lot of situations, right? I'm not in control of where the coach puts me. Okay. And there's a lot of times where I didn't really want to play this position, but my coach put me there. And we can sit there and like complain and make it negative. Or I can be like, I'm going to be the best shortstop that my team can be, or for my team that I can be. It's just that little switch, right? Don't let that negativity steal the opportunity within your life and that come your way. And I went on to compete. We won a national championship in my junior year. And for me, that was incredible to be the last team standing in college. And that year we had 8 seniors, and it would have been the first year for them to graduate, or first team class to graduate without a national championship, like within the last 20 years. And so there was a ton of pressure, but it was so special to send them out on top my junior year. And that was the year I went undefeated. And I would say, yes, maybe I was named MVP of the Women College World Series that year that we won. But if you were to ask me who the most valuable player would be, I would tell you it was a girl named Theresa Ayoub. And Theresa Ayoub never stepped foot on the field during the World Series. But Theresa Ayoub, every single day, she came out to practice with the most joyful attitude, the biggest smile on her face, and she was willing and ready to do whatever it took for our team. And I just remember every day looking at her and being like, how can I not give 100% when she knows she's probably not going to be on the field, but she's giving 110%. And so she made all of us just that much better by her example every day. And so you think sometimes, it's the pitcher or, the center or the point guard in basketball or the big center, right? Whatever it is. But no, right? You can lead in your own way. And our actions speak so much louder than our words by just doing the little things right, doing the extra things, going out of your way for your teammates, for your teachers, for your classmates, being considerate, all of those things. It just makes life that much better and sweeter. And so I hope you choose to do those little extra things and find the good and be the good out there in it. I went on to have the opportunity to try out for the Olympic team, like I said, and I got to play amongst some of the world's best softball players, girls that I was in their autograph line, and now here I was as their teammate. Talk about surreal. What a dream that was. I got to travel to places I never even knew existed through a softball, that yellow ball up there. That's a little bit bigger than the balls we use, but that yellow ball has allowed me to do so much incredible, right? Never in a million years would I imagine that I would be flying to Taiwan to compete for the Junior Worlds, or to go to Athens, Greece, where the Olympics began, to compete for my country, go to Italy, China, Japan, all over. What a dream it was to compete at that level. And we plummeted through our opponents in 2004. Our coach, he actually was my college coach as well, and went on to coach the Olympic team, so I got to play for him again. But what a gift that was to be able to play for him. And we had lost my coach's wife about 2 weeks before the Olympic Games. And for us, that was a really wake-up call, because we were, training for the last year, 10 to 12 hours a day, gold medal, 2 hours of hitting in the morning, and then 2 to 3 hours of fielding in the afternoon. And then we would, do conditioning, strengthening exercises, agility, all of those things. So it was full for a year on tour, training, preparing for that moment. And that moment we woke up and realized that, life is so precious. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. And we ended up winning that gold medal for her and for coach. And what a dream it was to be able to do that and to be there in Athens, Greece, and see my parents up there who've sacrificed so much to allow me to play. My brothers were there as well. What a surreal moment. It was just incredible to see so many different athletes from all over the world and so many different shapes and sizes. That just blew my mind, right? You'd be walking in the athlete dining hall, which was really cool. There's an athlete village. And so we're all housed in the same area. And then you go eat in the cafeteria kind of setting. And, you would have the basketball players, and you'd have the tiny young gymnasts, and then you would have the big heavy weightlifters, and just to see how strong these guys are and girls are, and just to see too, I remember just being overwhelmed in awe of being amongst the entire world, but yet in a healthy competitive environment. So here we were, around people from all over the entire world, and we're competing, but yet we're eating together. We're living in the same spaces and sharing those things and learning from each other, the different traditions and cultures. And what a magical opportunity that was. I ended up getting married after the 2004 Olympics. We won gold. It was pretty awesome. That was like the Olympics of the female athlete. Our team was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So we were doing things that had never been possible for our sport after 2004, which was really, really exciting. I ended up getting married in 2005 to my husband, and I ended up having my son Ace a year later. And here I was preparing for the 2008 Olympic Games. And now I was a mother. And so that was a whole new experience to be able to, do that with my son in tow. What a dream that was, to be able to be a professional athlete. And I played in the pro league too. So I played for Chicago, which for me, watching the Dodgers was a dream, right? Well, now I was a professional athlete doing what they did, which was really cool. And I actually got the job co-hosting This Week in Baseball. And so I got to go around and interview Major League Baseball players. What a dream. And I ended up finding myself on Dodger Stadium with my own Dodger uniform, pitching to Paul Duca, the catcher. And he actually tried to hit off me as well. And I ended up striking him out, which was really cool. And so here I was with Vince Scully, the announcer that we used to bring the radio into the ballpark from. He came down. Tommy Lasorda, their manager, he was retired then, but he just happened to be at the ballpark. So, my whole world came full circle. I had my number 27 on my jersey, and to pitch on Dodger Stadium was just a dream. And then I did get to pitch against other Major League Baseball players too. So that was like kind of this challenge that got started. And so I'd go into ballparks and interview a player. We would go over like a fundamental skill of the game, and then I would have the opportunity to pitch against them. And softball players, we can throw a rise ball, which you don't see too many rise balls or perfect rise balls going up in baseball. Mostly everything's going down, right, from the arm slot up here, where we release from our hip. And so it's a little bit different of an angle. And so I would throw rise balls, and I would usually go 2 rise balls, and they would swing and miss. And of course, they're not just trying to make contact. These major leaguers are trying to, hit the ball 500 feet out of the ballpark. And then I would kind of make them look silly on the third pitch as being a changeup. And so here I was. We were now at Angel Stadium, which is pretty cool too, because I grew up not too far from Angel Stadium. And Scott Spezio was in the batter's box. And by this time, this was my second season. And so both teams would come out to watch this challenge. And here's this girl pitching to major leaguers. And I go out there, first swing and a miss. Second one, swing and a miss. My Olympic catcher was there, came to catch for me that day. And I remember saying, okay, third pitch, change up. So she gives me the change up sign. I throw a change up. Well, he sits back, makes contact. I'm so bummed because I'd struck out, I think, 36 major leaguers at this point. Like Albert Pujols, Richie Sexson, Giambi brothers, Giles brothers, a lot of powerful hitters. And here he made contact. So my streak against the major leaguers was over. And I remember him rounding the bases, and they dogpiled at home plate like they just won the World Series. And I was super bummed because there goes our streak against the baseball players, right? Striking him out underhand. And he looks up and he was like, Finch, you got to mix it up. And I said, Scott, what are you talking about? And he's like, you got to mix it up here. I said, what do you mean? He said, the scouting report was the third pitch was going to be a changeup. My mind was blown. I was like, what? I had a scouting report in the big leagues. So yes, I was pretty upset that he made contact and got a hit. But at the same time, my dream was to make it to the big leagues, right? I never made it to the big leagues, but I had a scouting report in the big leagues. So again, dream and believe. You never know where your dreams can take you. Go big, go big, go big. We ended up going to the Olympics in 2008. We as a team fell short. We were playing Japan in the final game, and I'm a righty pitcher, and they have a lot of lefty hitters. And so our coach went with the lefties, and I could have been bitter. I could have been upset, but I'm so thankful. I just had that team mentality. I was in the bullpen ready for the call, waiting for the call. I just knew in that moment I had to be the best cheerleader I could be, and I had to be ready if I were to get the opportunity in. And unfortunately, I didn't. We lost 3-1. And I remember coach huddled us up in the locker room, and he said, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of what you've done. And most of all, never ever forget that life's going to hand you a lot harder things than a silver medal. And for me, that was just perspective. I hope you guys, whatever you do, keep it in perspective. It's a game. It's a gift. It's not life or death. And that was one thing in 2004, preparing for the Olympic Games. Our coach took us down to Camp Pendleton, and we trained with the Navy SEALs. And you talk about a wake-up call again, because here we thought, gold medal. We got so much pressure. We're on this mission together. And it was like, wait a minute. No, this is nothing. Like, these guys are on the front lines fighting for our freedom, that we get to play a game. Like, we think this is serious. No, these guys are the real deal. They're the true heroes, because they are sacrificing themselves for us and allowing us to play this game. But that was intense. And we did learn too, just the mental toughness that it takes. And after the 2008 Olympics, I ended up playing 2 more years. And I ended up running the New York City Marathon the first year that I retired after I had my second son. And I had never ran farther than probably 5 or 6 miles. And so to run 26 miles, like, no way, like, no way. That's way too far. Like, no, you can't even run that distance. And I got the opportunity to run the New York City Marathon, and it was for charity. And so I knew I wanted to do it. It wasn't going to be about me. So even more motivation. And our coach, that coached me on the Olympic team and in college, he said that he trained for a marathon. And he said, so I called him and I was like, hey, coach, give me some advice. And he said, I called my friend up that ran marathons, and he always said, just run light pole to light pole, light pole to light pole. Don't think about how far you got to go. Just get to the next light pole. And I'll never forget, I remember calling him and saying, like, coach, I'm going from sidewalk crack to sidewalk crack to sidewalk crack. Like, I'm not even at the light poles yet. Like, that's where I'm at, right? But eventually I did finish 26.2 miles, but it's up here. This is where our strength comes from. It comes from our mind, and we are so much stronger than we think we are, right? We have to allow ourselves to be pushed and to dig in that gut dial, like I talked about, and find that greatness within each and every one of you, because there is greatness in every single one of you. And I can't wait until you guys discover it and continue to move forward. And everyone always asks, like, before we get to questions, so keep thinking of questions. All right, if you have some questions, please type away. But what is the hardest thing that you had to face or overcome? And I would say it's right up here. It's not letting that negative voice fill in. Here I was on the Olympic team, and I thought, man, these Olympians, they're superheroes, right? USA across your chest. It's like, boom, you got a shield. You are the best of the best. They went to 3 Olympics. They won 3 gold medals, right? You have the best coaching staff. You have everything going forward. You're supposed to win. Well, I put that uniform on, and sure enough, first thing that pops in my head is, Jennie, you better not screw this up, because now your whole country is depending on you, and you better not let your country down. And it was like, wait a minute, no, like, I'm supposed to be a superhero. I have USA across my chest. I have the world's best teammates. Like, no, how is this negative voice still filling in my head, right? I watch these girls, they're superheroes. And now I have that same uniform on. It's like, man, this is going to be a constant battle forever and ever. And so I hope you don't listen to that negative voice. You knock it out as soon as it comes in and fill it with good thoughts, good things. But it's going to be a battle. And I'm sure you guys have already been faced with that. But you can do anything if you put your mind to it, you put your heart to it, find a way. Don't be afraid to ask for help. There's so many people out there that want to help you discover that greatness within you. And so, and we all have different gifts. Even on, I think about my team, there's girls that are really, really fast. I'm not one of those. There were girls that could play outfield great. I'm not a good outfielder. There were girls that had a ton of power. I had power, but I wasn't the most powerful, right? And if I stood there and looked at all my teammates, I would fall short in so many categories. And then we go back to that comparison thing, like, no, I cannot compare myself to them. I have my own gifts, and I need to bring those gifts forward. And that's the magic of a team. We all bring our gifts forward, right? And to work together and become great as one. Pick each other up, have some fun. Don't let the past, right? Tomorrow or today is over. Look for tomorrow. I always say it's not the last pitch, it's the next pitch. And it's not, again, from light pole to light pole. For me, a lot of times I get the ball in my hand and I'm already thinking about winning or losing. And it's like, no, Jennie, you got to compete now. And it's not about even getting 3 outs. For me, sometimes that would be overwhelming because I would have to face the world's 3 best hitters coming up to the plate. And it's like, no, Jennie, don't look at who's on deck or who's in the hole. Not even this hitter. It's one pitch at a time. And that's all we got to show up for, right? Is 1 minute at a time, 1 pitch at a time, 1 basket at a time, whatever it is, 1 pitch at a time. We all can compete for those short-term goals, which will eventually find ourselves in those long-term goals at all. But I hope you win. You choose to win the day. The 2 things you can control are attitude and effort. This is your most powerful tool, and you are in charge of it. You are in charge of your most powerful tool. Go out there and shine big, encourage one another, lift somebody else up. Yes, it's so much fun to be a part of a team. I'm so thankful that I had that gift. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I miss most now is just being around teammates and the camaraderie. So I hope you enjoy that. And there's always going to be mean girls in the mix, mean boys in the mix, bullies, right? You got to just rise above it. Rise above it, right? Words can hurt you, okay? But we have to be stronger than those words at times, and you got to just keep putting one foot in front of the other and being you and just believing in those positive thoughts and that positive calling over your life. So, all right, let's see.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions? I'll
we
keep
have
going.
a-
I'm
we
going.
have
I'm checking my notes, see what I missed.
That was awesome. No, we have a bunch of questions if you want to
Oh,
answer a
good.
couple.
Yes.
Yeah?
I didn't see
Okay.
this, so I didn't know if we had them. Perfect.
All right, so let's start with, if I could open this. A question from Jada. She wants to know, how fast can you pitch?
How fast? So the fastest I've ever been clocked at was 72 miles an hour. They say, so that's equivalent to high 90s in baseball. So we throw from 43 feet, baseball 60 feet, 6 inches. So 72. I threw a rise ball, a curve ball, which went away from a righty, and then a drop ball, a screw ball that goes into a righty, and then a rise that goes up, and then change up as well. So 5 pitches.
Did you have all 5 pitches in college, or did you develop them before, after, during?
You know, I did. I had those all before. And I think too, my dad never wanted me to have a go-to pitch, because he said, if you have a go-to pitch, then everyone is going to know what's coming in that go-to situation. And so I'm thankful for him to force me to be well-rounded and to have those other pitches, because I look back at my career and definitely certain pitches worked at different times. And usually I would always have 2 or 3, that I could throw on a full count for a strike if I needed it. And so, I'm thankful for having those other ones too to depend on.
So Victoria asks, were there any drills that you did to make your pitching faster? And if so, what drills did you do?
Leg drive drills. So long toss is really good for overhand. And we got baseball players out there, long toss. So you throw a ball, take 2 steps back, throw a ball, take 2 steps back, and go as far as you can. And then once you start one hopping it, right, you've met your max, then try to throw from there about 5 or 6 times, and then slowly, gradually bring it back. And then eventually, right, you'll increase distance as well. And that helps with strength. I think too, our bottom up. So our legs, we got to have a good, strong leg drive out, and then resistance off that front side. We do like arm speed drills too, where you just try to get your arm going as fast as you can, because arm speed is ball speed. So the faster our arm goes, the faster the ball is going to go as well. So that helps too.
So kind of on that note, were you ever afraid to hit someone when you're pitching?
Yes, actually, my dad, I was young, and I let up on it, right? And he finally, after the game, he's like, Jennie, why are you not throwing hard? And I'm like, well, I heard somebody tell me, someone or a mom in the stand say that I was going to kill them if I, threw my hardest, and I didn't want to kill anybody. And he was like, Jennie, come on. But I said I was a pleaser, and I didn't want to make people mad, and so I was kind of holding back on it. And he was like, no, like, you have to go full out. And then I think as you get older, you realize it's me versus them, and you have to kind of push your body to the max, and it's part of the game. I mean, not that I would hit anyone on purpose, but it's going to happen, right? You're throwing a ball to the hitter. So it's just kind of part of it, but you got to keep pushing and keep going as hard as you can.
Cool. Thank you. That question was from Caitlin, by the way. And Miranda asks, how did you feel when you stepped down from softball?
Miranda. Hey, Miranda. I was excited for what was to come. So my son was 5 at that time, so he was about to start school, and my husband actually played baseball as well. So it was pretty crazy for those 5 years, because he was on his schedule and traveling all over the U.S., and I was on my schedule traveling all over the world. And so I was kind of ready to be in one spot, and I wanted to have more children as well. So I definitely was kind of nervous about the next step, but excited as well, and excited for our family to kind of have some normalcy too. But I definitely miss it, and I'm so thankful that I get to do camps and clinics, and I'm partnered with Diamond Nation, which is in New Jersey, which isn't too far from you guys up in Connecticut. So I get to go up there, and I get to be around the game a ton. So it's been fun. And my little girl plays now. I just got off the field with her today. She had 2 games today, so that's why I'm looking kind of softballish. I didn't play, but I coached 2 games. So I feel blessed that I still get to be around the game.
So then, on the opposite, the opposite of hitting somebody, is it ever nerve-wracking to throw strikes?
To throw strikes?
Over the plate, asks Caitlin.
Oh, like afraid of them hitting it. Yes. And that is the biggest thing too. Like, we cannot be thinking about that. I always say, if you go up to the plate thinking about striking out, what are you most likely going to do? Strike out, because that's where your mind is. And our mind is our most powerful tool. So if we're up on the mound saying they're going to hit it hard, right? They're going to hit it hard. And that it's a battle, but you have to just speak it and then fully step in it and believe it. And that there were times where I remember I got a line drive hit back at my maybe shin, I think it was, in high school. And I remember like I flinched after every pitch, and I was scared because I didn't want to get hit again and hurt. And they're hitting, we're close. So when I released the ball, I'm at 38 feet from the hitter, which isn't very far. And so I did have to overcome that. And I realized, like, if I'm fearful going in, that's usually what's going to happen. And I have to just fully believe and trust and let it go. Breathing is a big part of it too. I know anybody out there, even before you take a test, whatever, right? Deep breath in, deep breath out, and then trust it. I love to, if you just have a quote that you like, cling to that quote and declare it, or even just like 2 words, fear not, or whatever it is, that you can remind yourself, or write on your glove something that will kind of keep you in that mindset of we can't fear. We can't be thinking about what we don't want to do. We have to be thinking about what we want to do.
So I have a question. So Mariano Rivera could never get Edgar Martinez out. Was there a hitter you just couldn't get out in your career?
Oh, I don't know about one that I could never get out, but there was definitely one, Theresa Flowers, who actually went and compete. She went to UCLA, but then she went and we got to play together on the USA team. So it was much better playing with her, but she would foul off so many pitches. And it was like, man, every time she went up to the plate, I just couldn't get that strikeout pitch, and she would just foul until I would kind of give her a little something better. And then she would usually put it in contact.
So Bryn would like to know, I just lost the question. What was more exciting, pitching in the Olympics or striking out MLB players in your exhibitions?
Oh, goodness. I mean, you can't compare to the Olympics. The Olympics was so very special, to be out there and to represent your country. And it's so much bigger than you. And it was a dream. So Olympics kind of are up there at the top, but don't get me wrong, pitching in Major League Baseball stadiums was such a thrill, and it was a great way to showcase what we do as female athletes and as fast pitch softball players. And so it really kind of catapulted our game and brought so much awareness and fan base to softball from it. So it got a lot of publicity, and it was a lot of fun. I did 3 seasons of This Week in Baseball going around, which is pretty cool too. So now I actually am an ambassador for Major League Baseball, and we do a lot of grassroots events on the softball side. So pretty cool to say that now I'm an employee of Major League Baseball.
So Mary, how many years did you pitch for Arizona, and did you get your college degree?
I did, yes. So I played 4 years at Arizona. I went to school 5, and I majored in communication. And ironically enough, I dropped out of public speaking. So I majored in communication. It was just really a broad major. I didn't emphasize anything in anything. And I remember sitting in this class, it was public speaking, and I knew I needed it, right? And especially at Arizona, it's a small college town. So, we get 3,500 fans out there, and you get a lot of opportunity within the community too, to make an impact. And the professor said, okay, we have to make 3 speeches in front of the class this semester. And I was like, oh gosh, I got to get out of here. Like, I'm out. I don't want anything to do with this. I'm not getting up in front of 300 students and, speaking in front of them. And so I switched out of that class and took another class to get those same units. And I always say, face your fears earlier than later, because I wish I would have faced them then, and I could have used that class, because I did get the opportunity, especially once the Olympics and such, to speak just like I am today. So you never know, something that you don't like and you're fearful of and you think you're terrible at, with a lot of repetition, you can do anything.
So Jada would like to know, how fast did you pitch when you were 10 years old?
Oh goodness. I think if you Google it, it'll say there's like a guide online, because I do get that question a lot. And so we ended up putting it on my website. And now I think if you Google it, it'll show up. But I want to say maybe like high 50s, I would think.
And Caitlin wants to know, what was your batting average?
Oh, Caitlin, we played a lot of games. I don't know. I'm not even sure. And that's one thing too. Like, you remember the gold medals and the championships and the team moments, but those individual stats, nobody cares about those. So it's just enjoying your time, having a great season, being the best.
Bill would like to know, was there anyone? Oops, sorry, I stepped on you there. Bill would like to know, was there anyone special in your life that helped you become a great player?
I would say my dad had a huge impact on my life. He sacrificed a ton. He pushed me. He believed in me what I didn't believe in myself. And then I would say my brothers, and then Lisa Fernandez. I looked up to her growing up because she wasn't just a pitcher. She played third base and she hit. And so I always strived to be that all-around player. I didn't want to just pitch. I wanted to play another position and hit as well. And so I looked up to her, and it was pretty cool to be able to play alongside her in 2004 on the Olympic team. That was a dream. She was my, idol growing up. And then here I was working alongside her, being her teammate.
We have time for a couple more. Do you have any advice for players who may have missed an entire season because of COVID and what they can do to stay in shape and stay ready for the summer?
Again, like I said over and over, right? We have to cling to the positive. And yes, it isn't fair. We did lose a season, but you have to think everyone else around you is in that same boat. And so I hope that it motivates you even more. And that's what I've been telling athletes. I hope when you do get the opportunity to get out on these athletic fields and to be, even in the classroom with your classmates, that you appreciate it that much more. And we truly realize, I know my kids are, every now and then it was like, oh, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to have to go. And now they want to go. Like, they miss their classmates. They miss their teachers. And so just know, like, don't take it for granted. And you can go do it. You can get right back to it. Find a way. There's so many drills. If you go to Major League Baseball site, MLB at Home, they have so many drills that you can do in the house. So you don't even need space. You can roll up some socks with a ball. There's so many ways. So just, I would say go for it. If you want to play, you don't worry about what you missed or what happened. It's here on out forward. Put your mind and heart to it, and you can do it.
Great. I think that's a really perfect place to stop. I'm going to see if I can come up on screen and not crash the whole program to thank you in person. Well, I'll be a little box, but Jennie, just on behalf of the library, we want to say thank you so much. This was so great. That hour flew by. So thank you again for doing this. Very inspirational, the perfect way to kick off Camp Explore. So on behalf of the library, thank you. And everybody who came today, thank you so much. You can watch the replay of this right at this link anytime you'd like. And if you click the More Camp Explore button, you can see what we've got coming up next week and in the weeks to follow. And a whole resource guide with more information about Jennie, probably including her batting average back to when she was 10 years old. So Jennie, thank you. Everybody, thank you so much. And be well, everybody.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Dream and believe, y'all. Thank you for having me.